Hi, I'm going to do a Mercury retrograde reading for Earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Mercury will be retrograding in Scorpio. It's currently in its pre-shadow energy. It will be stationing retrograde on October 13th, and it will go direct on November 3rd. And it leaves its post-shadow on November 19th. If you're interested in astrology, other things to consider is that this is also within a Mars retrograde that's in Aries, which we are currently in and lasts until November 13th, with a post-shadow energy that lasts until January 2nd of 2021. But I'm going to focus on our Mercury retrograde energy, and like I said, it's happening in Scorpio. Okay, got three popping out right away. We've got the Fool, Knight of Swords, and a Knight of Coins. Okay, I see. You know, the position of these two, they look very much the same, don't they? I see it with this Knight of Swords and Fool energy. They are both in a fast momentum forward. Fast with thoughts, fast with communication, fast with a declaration to start new in a hurry. Earth signs, you can't rush the process. And your own energy with the Virgo, mutable energy with the Knight of Coins, is also here on the tail end of it to remind you of method, to remind you of patience and endurance. So while there may be this type of epiphany feeling that you have, that you wish to communicate, may even want to act on your impulses, now is not a great time to be super impulsive, but rather to have a clearer view of the source of those impulses. You know, it's like, don't go jumping off of the cliff quite yet. Now is not the time. There is a reminder energy of making a plan or having a intention. You know, now's not the time to fly off the handle over something and leap off and start, just starting off into the new. Now is a good time to examine the sources of these impulses. Okay, thank you. Grab a couple more. What else do we have for Earth signs? Four of Swords, just like I said. Now's not a great time. It's a good time to stop and rest, do some breath work. This is also about meditation, Four of Swords. A good time to be introspective, reflective. You know, Four of Swords comes after the Three of Swords, so maybe like resting after a heartbreak or after a disappointment. So, like if before, you might be examining if this isn't an energy you're in right now, but examining how you may, cut someone and leap away, like as a reactivity. How is your communication reactive? How are your decisions impulsive and reactive? I'm just seeing a lot of that. And reactive, maybe not in action, but just in how you communicate, whether externally or internally. How do you communicate with another person when they piss you off? How do you communicate with another person when they disappoint you? How do you communicate with yourself when you feel disappointed with yourself? That Knight of Coins energy looks like there is, a concentration in wanting to work towards and continue to put worth into your spiritual wealth, your wealth, health, and spiritual abundance. So seeing the ways in which your behavior before held you back and needing to make appropriate adjustments. There, 10 of Cups just flipped upside down on this table. How has it kept you from love and unity? How has it impaired or created a disturbance in love and unity? This is not a time to get disappointed in yourself. It's a time to acknowledge things that you don't want to be the same anymore. Acknowledge what doesn't work anymore and take accountability for the self. Okay? That's that honorable type of energy from this Virgo card right here. Something else interesting that I read. Mars retrograde will retrograde again at the end of 2022, and it will retrograde in Gemini. And this Knight of Swords is a Gemini card. So this may be planning, make a 2-year plan. Make a 2-year plan, or make a 5-year plan and then reassess with that Knight of Swords energy when it is in Gemini. Okay? You can't do it all at once, you know. But you might want to, because you're anxious, because you're worried. What's the roots of your fear? Are you worried there's not enough time? Are you worried that you're going to make the wrong choice? Thank you. Now is a time to also understand how maybe some of your impulsive behavior is rooted in fear thoughts, is rooted in fear and reflective of insecurities that you have. And how ultimately it comes back to keep you from the thing that you want, which would be a 10 of Cups in the upright. It is our human condition. We want to be able to exist in love. We want to give love. We want to receive love. We want that joy, happiness, and harmony. And there's ways that within our own behavior we have to acknowledge that we are impairing our ability to have that. Okay. I'm going to take from my Tattoo Tarot. May I know more about this Fool energy up top? Fool energy with the Knight of Swords. That's what I want to clarify, those two together. What do we got for that? Fool energy with the Knight of Swords. May I please have a clarifier for the Fool with the Knight of Swords? Okay, thank you. Knight of Cups, Ace of Cups, and the 6 of Swords. Wow. What did I say? What, and then what holds you back? So what I see this as is that there's with the Ace of Cups, Knight of Cups, which is Pisces energy, and then a 6 of coins, Swords, is leaving the past behind. Leaving the past behind to move passionately forward and following your heart, being able to express your love because you have a new and replenished cup. I see a lot of this earth signs. There may be some forgiving yourself for the past, forgiving another person for the past. I see this as a way of forgiveness, but also examining what your perspective of forgiveness is, your perspective and what your prior practice of forgiveness was, because even your practice of it before may not have actually been working. I think that as a theme, that's something that you're going to have to really break down mentally and internally, and it's not going to feel great all the time. there's a certain, I feel like this is then tied into this Knight of Coins energy of having to slow down and really work on the self spiritually, and making that promise to the self, and patience, diligence, intention to that process. He's slow moving, but he is thorough. See this light that's coming down onto his head? It's right onto his third eye. He's assessing, what does this mean to me? What does this work mean to me? What does this opportunity, this relationship, this legacy, my spirituality, what does it mean to me? And I think Earth signs, this is a message on my table about, what does forgiveness mean to me? How have I experienced it? And how can I experience that virtue on a higher level? Because then what that is able to do is it frees you from certain things of your past that then allows you to move forward lovingly, authentically, and purely. Okay, instead of this Knight of Swords energy here that might be a bit impulsive, reactive. Thank you, Spirit. I'm going to keep it moving. May I have another I would like to know more about this Four of Swords energy with this Ten of Cups in the reverse. You could be hung up on a prior disappointment of something that didn't work out before. Or it's like having a hard time getting over a prior grudge that kept you from a Ten of Cups. With the Magician, this could be also impatience then, like you're wanting that, you think that you keep doing the work and it just keeps not showing up, and it just keeps being that lesson, that lesson. Well, you keep getting that and you keep manifesting that because there's something that's not being processed and fully capped off within the self. Again, I believe this is a message about re-examining and learning your experience with forgiveness as a process. Forgiveness is not just saying, I'm sorry. Forgiveness is also with what you do thereafter. So you can forgive another person for something that they did to you, and also forgive yourself for how you behaved in that situation. But what you do thereafter is, have you learned from that? Did you expand from that? Were you able to approach that situation with love? Not just love for the other person and thinking, I need to say this because God, how do I say this? But you apologize because you believe that that is something that that person deserves in their life and deserves to hear. And whether they give you something in return from it, it doesn't matter, because you decided they deserve to hear that I was wrong. They deserve to hear that I'm sorry for hurting them. And then how it's received is beyond your control. You can also then forgive yourself for if you did some wrongdoing and release that. But I think it's going to take a little bit of repair work, because you don't just say, okay, I fucked up, but I forgive myself. It's that, but you do have to do a little bit more work inside and to say, why did I do that? Why did I act that way? What part of me was not really being tended to that made me there's something that you didn't see, okay? That now you need to see and you need to work on to repair, and it looks like it's going to go great. To be totally honest, it looks like it's going to go great as long as you control your impulses during this time and really use the energy for your greatest good to be able to transform that piece inside of you that keeps you looping in this place of complacency and not being able to be fulfilled emotionally. In union, specifically, whether that's in a partnership, in a friendship, in a family, or in a harmonious workplace environment. Nine of Swords. May I please know about this Nine of Swords energy down at the bottom? Nine of Swords for my earth signs. Thank you. With the Knight of Swords again. Here's the thing. You do have to look at your impulsivity. That's for earth signs right now. And how do you and it looks like react out of defensiveness. Perhaps there's prior wounding that you have to consider. Understand when you are engaging in transference. The person you think is hurting you is actually not the person that hurt you. They're triggering that past unresolved pain that exists within you. I feel like crying. Earth signs. Okay. Thank you. There's another Six of Swords. There's something in the past that has to get left behind. A mental pattern and something that occurred with another person. Thank you. And then another Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles on top of a Knight of Pentacles. You're going to have to be patient. You have to be committed. You want to change, you have to be committed. You can't just brush it off or say, oh, that sounds good. That's what I think. You have to feel it. You got to feel it. You got to work through it. You got to embrace it. You've got to totally commit to how long it takes. And your own impulsivity, and also acknowledging, well, when do I get triggered? When do I behave like this? When does this thought pattern come to my head? And then you ask why, and you dig and you look at the root. And Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is perfect energy to be able to access those things. Three of Wands, pulling it in. Pulling it in. And this is like manifesting energy. You want to manifest harmonious love in a partnership, group, or some type of a unit. You want fulfillment, emotional fulfillment, and emotional fulfillment that involves other parties. But there's a way that you feel that you're stunted or blocked off or not being able to access this at this time. Perspective is key, and you can, if you feel lonely at this time with the Ten of Cups in the reverse with the Four of Swords, you, instead of feeling rejected and in despair and hateful, like nobody's calling me, nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that, I'm alone and I'm afraid and this and that. Well, one, you have the option to reach out to somebody, and two, you can also take that as a blessing and a sign and a signal that this is for you to engage in what your own personal power is. And this is huge manifesting energy if you are able to do that. Three of Wands with the Magician. The Magician alone is somebody that, along with his X factor of faith and connection with God and Spirit. What is that? Oh, God. I just saw the shadow of my necklace moving and I was just like, what is that? And I like looked up there. Anyways, the magician energy, he can manifest anything that he desires. He knows all the tools in his toolbox. He knows what to use when. And this is the waiting for those manifestations to come in because you know what you put out there. If you work on yourself and commit to yourself and commit to your change, it's then that reminder with the Knight of Coins energy is to stay committed to the new structure and that work that you're doing that concerns your own business, your own work, your own spirituality, your own health. That then you will find, I think, honestly, you give it that time and you will find that you are able to leave the past behind with a bit more ease because you're stepping into it, the new you, and you're committing to that. The past does not have to define you. Eight of Swords. But cyclical thinking. Maybe there's a narrative of the past that has defined you for so long, it's very difficult to let go of it. There's a lot of mental thought patterns that have to get acknowledged in a new way. Have to acknowledge them in a new way. What are there, are there things that parts of your story, parts of your narrative that you feel attached to that have kind of created the identity of yourself that you know, and you're not acknowledging about what factors in that narrative that you keep held onto that actually prevent you from being able to open up to receive a new experience. Take a couple more. This one hurts. Okay. It seems to me with these two cards, you have to acknowledge your own behavior that you continue to push people away. And you want to have this exterior of pride of being on your own, and you're so independent and you're so capable and you can do it all by yourself. But then I have this other energy speaking to me down here about feeling very burdened by your loneliness and it's like you just fight people off though. Your actions, how do your actions push other people away? I'm feeling quite uncomfortable having this discussion, but somebody's got to say it. What are your actions that continue to push people away that then you're just like, see, you couldn't help me. See, you never cared. See, I was right. I just have to do it by myself then. And it's this snooty shit. When actually it's very burdensome and troublesome to you, and it makes you feel very sad and afraid and alone. But I feel like that's the behavior that has to get examined about forgiveness and trust. And that where it's rooted, and I have this feeling that it's this type of immature thought pattern and cycle of being, maybe just in certain ways conditioned under the way of having to be left to your own devices in certain ways, and then there's blocks in being able to receive love and support. Your disbelief in somebody being able to love and support you could send you into that you know, and then they give up because they're just like, I can't help this guy. See? Just me and my bird here. See, I can do it by myself. I usually get a really great feeling from this card, but I don't. In this reading, not with all these swords down here. Everything down here on this lower level is swords. 8 of swords, self-imprisonment. 9 of swords, mental unwellness. 9 of swords, mental unwellness. Knight of swords, defensiveness, impulsive communication, brashness, and a 5 of swords. The shyster. Feel like your thoughts, there's some root in your thoughts that have to be examined. That keeps you in this place where it's part of your identity that you're a loner. But it's not a reflection of what your higher self is. Your higher self is not a loner. Your higher self wants connection. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. So, earth signs, you have your work cut out for you. All of us can take a lesson from this. Not just earth signs. I'm not pinning it on you guys. But it's something to really consider. And a great time to consider it during this Mercury retrograde. And don't get undertaken by the impulses that you feel under a Mars retrograde. They're not going to turn out well for you. Okay. That was my reading. Hope that you enjoyed that and received some insight. And I will catch up with you later. Bye.